Marston's Domain.
Hey everyone, Marson here, and today I want to talk about the roster for Mario Party Superstars. So I'm going to have this video in different sections, talking about characters that we know, characters we don't know, characters I think could come back, and characters that I don't think are going to come back. So let's start off with the characters that are confirmed. Confirmed characters are Mario, Luigi, Wario, Waluigi, Peach, Rosalina, Donkey Kong, Yoshi, and Birdo. And I was going to have a section of characters that aren't confirmed that I think are going to be in anyway, but I could only find one character that I think this is the case, and that is Daisy. She isn't confirmed, but I would be shocked if they didn't put Daisy in, considering that they have Princess Peach, and the fact that Daisy has been in a lot of Mario Party games as a playable character. So I think Daisy is definitely coming back. Now I want to talk about characters that I don't think I can say are completely deconfirmed, but I feel like they're not going to come back pretty confidently. And these characters would be Boo, Goomba, Mies, Toad, the different colored Toads, Toadette, and Bowser. So for the Mies, I just don't think they're going to come back. They were in Mario Party 8. I just don't think they're going to do Mies again. I don't have any proof. I just don't really see Mies fitting in how this is a callback type of game or a throwback type of game. I just don't picture Mies coming back. For Boo, I don't think Boo's going to come back because they brought back Boo on the main boards to steal coins and stars. And in Mario Party 6, Boo was playable, and they just had red Boos be the Boos that could steal coins and stars. But we've already seen that Boo returns to do that, so I don't think Boo is going to be playable. I don't think Goomba is going to be playable because of the cake board. Goomba already has a role on there. I don't think Toad's going to be playable because Toad is now a host again. And the reason why I brought up the different colored Toads is because I guess one of the Mario parties did have different colored Toads as playable characters, but oddly enough, I think this has pretty much just been deconfirmed because we've already seen the yellow Toad be a shopkeeper. So that's not to say that other colored Toads couldn't be playable, but I'm kind of doubting it. I guess I shouldn't say definitively deconfirmed because it is possible, I think, that a blue Toad could be playable, but I really doubt it. I don't think Toadette will be playable because Toadette is the one that sells stars now. I don't think Bowser's going to be playable because the Bowser spaces have returned. Now for these next characters, I originally had different sections for this of characters that I think might come back and characters that I don't expect to come back, but I think I'm just going to talk about each one individually and say if I think they might come back or not, because I think it'll be easier to talk about different points without putting them in certain sections. So for Diddy Kong, even though Diddy Kong became playable way later in the series, I think Diddy Kong has a decent chance. Because even though they're going for this huge throwback to Mario Party, I don't think they're going to go with that fully for the roster. And we already have characters like Rosalina confirmed, and Rosalina didn't even exist yet when some of these games were out. So I don't think that's going to play too much of a role, because throughout the years they've added more characters, and I don't think that's something they'd want to go backwards on too much, even though I think some characters aren't going to make it back in general, even though it is supposed to be a throwback. So I think Diddy Kong could have a good chance. Now, this next character is one that I thought they might do for nostalgia, but I think they're going to just still act like this character pretty much never existed, and that is Koopa Kid or Baby Bowser, because we've already seen Spaceland, and I didn't see the Baby Bowser spot on the board, which you could think that that may hint at Baby Bowser or Koopa Kid being playable, but I think it's more or less them acting as if that character just didn't exist. But there is the possibility that they want to go full nostalgia and just let us play as that character. And that's why we don't see them on the board. But I do think that's kind of unlikely. But what they could do is they could add the character that I'm going to talk about now, which is Bowser Jr. The thing that makes me think they won't add Bowser Jr. is that Bowser's not playable. So I don't know if they would have Bowser Jr. be playable when Bowser Jr. is not playable, because it'd be weird if Bowser Jr. landed on a Bowser space and Bowser had to do something to Bowser Jr. They could do funny stuff with the dialogue, but it would be kind of weird. Okay, so as I was editing this, I started to think about how Boo is in Mario Party 6, and I was like, you know, I wouldn't be shocked if the Bowser space is in Mario Party 6. And sure enough, it is. So for my logic that I talk about with these characters not coming back because the Bowser space is there, I guess that doesn't play a role. So instead of going through and just completely taking out that point, I figured I'd just put an editor's note in of that it's definitely still possible, and it does open the door to more of these characters actually getting in. And what they could do is maybe some of the roles that Koopa Kid or Baby Bowser had in the previous titles, maybe Bowser Jr. is going to have that role now. Even though in Spaceland we didn't see that role return, maybe Bowser Jr. plays a role in some of the things. But overall, I'm not expecting to see Bowser Jr. playable. Now, for the rest of these characters, I'm going to do kind of like a speed run. So we have Blooper, Dry Bones, Hammer Bro, Kamek, Monty Mole, Pom Pom, Shy Guy, and Spike. I have a feeling that none of those are going to be playable. Maybe Spike, because I feel like Spike just has nothing to do with any of this older stuff when it comes to throwbacks. And I think you could categorize Pom Pom in that category too, but I think for this game, if they went for any of them, I think they'd go for Spike, if I had to guess. But in general, I won't be surprised if we don't see any of these characters. I think with the Bowser space being back in general, similar to what I said about Bowser Jr., they could do funny things with the text, but it would be weird seeing these characters land on a Bowser space. So those are all the characters that have been in previous Mario Party titles that I think are either coming to the game or not coming to the game, or confirmed, or that I feel are deconfirmed. In terms of characters that they could bring as a first to the series as being playable, I actually don't really have any. I feel like there's going to be some surprise in terms of the roster. I don't think they're going to go full throwback. The only thing that I could see happening that could be seen as kind of disappointing is the way they could go about it is the fact that we have Rosalina now. And Rosalina was a character that didn't even exist when these older games were around. So characters like that might be the quote-unquote new playable characters in terms of the fact that we couldn't play them in the previous titles because they either didn't exist yet or weren't playable in general. So that could be the only kind of disappointing thing I could see them doing with the roster. But I hope that they have a few surprises for us when it comes to the roster. So that's all I really have to say about this. Let me know in the comment section down below what you think about all this. If you enjoyed this and want to see more content, feel free to subscribe. And until next time, I'll see y'all later. Take care, everyone.